Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. And joining us this week is Zach Covemaker.
What's up?
Yeah, thanks for coming back. It's always fun when we have a third guest, and you're one of our favorites, so thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
Obviously, visit us.
Unlike that Michael Carlson. That guy, right?
Love him. It's like I literally tell everybody they're one of my favorite guests because we only have like 3 that return, and I like all 3 of them when they're on. And then they're all like, well, I don't want to come.
I'm happy to be one of the 3.
I don't want to. I think, they don't want to necessarily step on each other's toes. I'm like, no, it's even better when like Zach and Josh or Zach and Mike or Josh and Mike are here. It makes it even more fun. So.
No, those are great. Those are some of my favorite ones that we've done.
Yeah. So anytime,
I get to talk about the X-Men cartoon and Star Wars without everyone else just groaning. This is great.
Yeah. So anytime any of the 3 of you want on, please. It makes it more fun for us too. As always, I always give you where we're located. IHateCritics.net, Everyone's a Critic Podcast.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, handles Critics Pod. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Alexa, Stitcher, YouTube. Subscribe to the show, rate and review the show. And then patreon.com/criticspod to help support the show. There's also our TeePublic page over at IHateCritics.net. Let's get right into it. Obviously, some really sad news. Chadwick Boseman, 43, passed away from cancer that none of us knew he had.
It was stunning. I guess there was a photo of him not all that long ago that people were talking about on Twitter, and people were saying that people were kind of bullying him over it because he lost so much weight. But everybody assumed it was for a role. Everyone assumed that it was just something he was doing, like McConaughey did in Dallas Buyers Club or something. And so really, yeah, they hid this extraordinarily well. It's so devastating though, because you look at what he accomplished in such a short amount of time when he just burst onto the scene and just started making all these movies all in a row, from 42 to Marshall to Get On Up, playing every black icon you could imagine, and he was the absolute right choice to do it each time. Then of course Black Panther and the Marvel movies, and to know that he did that while having cancer and going through the hardest thing he could possibly go through, and he's making the biggest movies in the world. That is some superhero level shit.
Yeah, the balls that it took to do all of that. Just the last 4 years alone, all those hits like Black Panther and then Infinity War and all this stuff back to back, damn, mad respect for him. I can't even understand, man. It's just, we're going to be talking about this man for a very, 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 very long time.
Absolutely. And then you take into account that on top of that, he's carrying the weight of Black history at the movies too. Not just in his historical characters, but even just playing, one of the biggest superheroes in the world and providing for people that experience. There's the one of the most viral clips of the week is this Jimmy Fallon bit from when the movie came out, and they've got all these people who don't know that Chadwick Boseman is there. They're all talking to him, and they think they're sending him a video message talking about what the movie means to him, and then he comes out from behind a curtain and surprises them, and it's very emotional. And you watch it now, and you're hearing all these people give these earnest testimonies about what this movie meant to them, and it just becomes, it's so much more touching. And then there's the other really viral clip is him talking about getting letters from children who were dying from cancer who never got to see Black Panther before they died, and how emotional he gets talking about that, and also keeps himself together while talking about it. He's the strength. My God.
Yeah.
It was just really sad news. Came out of nowhere, and really, I think 42 is right around the time our podcast started, and even the movies we didn't like, we've always liked him in them. Before he was even a star, we were always kind of like, he's really good. We weren't a big fan of 42, but he was really good in it, and everything he's really done from then on out, he's been phenomenal in. Just a great talent and just sad.
Yeah, I mean, 21 Bridges, I don't think is a very good movie, but he is excellent in it. It's just a commanding presence, charismatic, impactful, poorly constructed movie, but he's really awesome in it.
Yeah, he'll definitely be missed. Anything else on Chadwick Boseman before we move on to our movies this week?
I just hope there's a way to, get him some sort of award out of some kind. He deserves something, some kind of recognition. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's transfer or segue into our movies, and we're going to start things a little different than normal. We're going to start with a movie Sean didn't get to see, and I didn't see it either. So we're going to.
Yeah, going to the movies might kill me, so it's kind of making my job a little complicated these days.
Yeah, and the theaters don't seem to care, and I'm wondering how it's going to play out for us because obviously there's some big ones coming up. But the streaming thing seems to be working because, with every big movie that's released to the theater, there's a big movie coming to streaming, at least for this week and next week. But anyway, Zach was able to get to a theater to see the New Mutants. What'd you think?
So, okay. For those who don't know, New Mutants, it's the story of like a bunch of young mutants that are trapped in this what they think is a hospital, and one of the main characters, her name is crap, I don't have it, but she has this like ability that just starts like fucking with everybody, and it just slowly takes a dark turn. I enjoyed this. Like it got delayed time and time again for stupid ass reasons, and I wish that this got put out and it got like the chance that it could have got or deserved. Sorry, it's just, I don't know. It's a different take on like a lot of like the superhero genre. It showcased some of like the most important mutants from the actual like comics and stuff that I was enjoying, but like, yeah, I'm just mad that I'm mad that Fox did them dirty like that, because I think like the original delay was because like I think over in China the like Deadpool 2 and New Mutants were supposed to be playing at the exact same time, so they delayed it. And then it just kept going. And it got to the point where everyone thought that this movie was just going to be completely unwatchable. And to be honest, like I've been seeing some reviews on it. I'm probably just like biased because it's the first time I've actually done something in the last like 5 months. So it was kind of cool. But no, I hope people get a chance to see this. I get why people don't want to go to the theaters now, because everything's scary, everything's terrifying. But I hope when this movie actually gets out there, I hope people don't give it a chance, because it's kind of cool. There's some weird acting choices. Like I really didn't care about Maisie Williams in this. Like I normally like her, but I really didn't care about her. Like she kind of was, I don't know, just a little blank for me. But as usual, like Anya Taylor-Joy, I think. Yeah, she is phenomenal as Ileana, this mutant that she can like travel to this like side dimension that she's created her own called Limbo, and like she can like summon the sword that she created in there, and like she is like one of the coolest characters in the comics and stuff. So I really hope that if they burn this whole like movie to the ground, this whole universe, all this, I really hope they bring her back for it, because like I've been a huge fan of hers since Split. And I think they need to keep her on, dude. Like she is she's phenomenal. She's kind of in the beginning. Her character is kind of racist, like a little bit, like it was there, and it wasn't cool, but like eventually she kind of starts getting out of that, and it gets a whole lot better. But yeah, definitely recommend checking this out at some point. I know you guys aren't too big on the X-Men stuff, which I get. Like they're mostly turds, but this one was interesting.
I thought it was funny.
No, she's her character. Go ahead, Bob.
No, you go ahead.
I'd heard that Anya Taylor-Joy's character is tangentially related to the big dude in the Deadpool movies. Is that right?
Yeah, Colossus. They're brother and sister.
The giant metal guy.
Yeah, they don't reference that in here, which was kind of odd, but also in the same vein, like he never mentioned his sister in Deadpool, so I kind of got over that pretty quick. Which is funny because in the animated series, like pretty much all you ever hear Colossus say is Ileana, like pretty much every episode he's in, because he's always looking for his sister.
No, I was just going to mention like the critics weren't very kind to this, and I think Maisie Williams actually started tweeting or screenshotting the reviews and saying, "Sounds like another great review. Go see the movie." And it seemed to have worked a little bit. I mean, considering we're in a pandemic. She was able to get some fans to the theater by doing that. But I thought that was unique. Not unique, I'm sure it's been done before, but I thought it was a good move on her end. Because this isn't really supposed to be a critically acclaimed movie.
7 to 8 million we lost.
Damn.
7 to 8 million?
Yeah.
That's not bad for a pandemic.
7 to 8 million.
Oh, shit.
Right, but again, we're in a pandemic.
Yeah, somewhere between 7 and 8 million.
Right, but we're in a pandemic, so that's not it's
right,
not what it meant before.
But for a movie that cost this much, Disney just
still can't
dumped this. This is taking a dump.
What they should have done is release it streaming, because that's critic proof.
They couldn't, though. That was the problem. Because I believe, like, a friend of mine was telling me that in their a friend of mine was telling me in their contract they had to have a theatrical release, and I know they also couldn't release it straight to like Disney Plus or anything because all those Fox movies had a exclusive deal with HBO, so it would have had to go straight to HBO Max if they tried to go the Disney Plus route.
Which is what they should have done.
I know.
Yeah, and I mean,
they don't want to help out the new competitor.
Yeah. Well, no, I had no doubt Disney was dumping it. It just still 7 to 8 million is not horrible during a pandemic where you have every other row's cut off and every other seat's cut off. So that's really not as bad as it sounds. Obviously, it.
But your movie cost. But it, what cost, and they're hiding a lot of that cost.
But you're missing my point.
Fox deal.
I understand that, but you're missing my point. The point was it did more than it was expected to do, given the fact that they dumped it. I'm not disputing that. But let's.
It's a lot better to risk your life to see this than like something like Unhinged or like go see like Back to the Future in there. Like, so if you're out there, you wanna risk it. It's better than nothing.
Well, they re-released all the Rocky movies, and I didn't go to that.
Ugh.
All right, let's move on to the streaming services, and we'll start with Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Yeah, directed by Dean Pariseau, and welcome back Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter as Bill and Ted, and Samara Weaving, and I don't know the other young lady's name, as their daughters. Also replaced their wives. Jayma Mays and Erin Hayes are playing their wives now, which is weird because they would have been like 9 and 13 respectively when the first film came out. But nevertheless, that's just something I got hung up on and nobody else did. Is this a movie? This is a movie. I don't know what I saw here. This happened. I watched it happen in front of me. It unfolded. It felt like a movie, but not really. This was really amateur and sad in a lot of ways for me. Like, I don't really love the Bill and Ted movies, but I don't have a negative opinion of the Bill and Ted movies either. But this Keanu Reeves seems completely lost. He seems just like he's trying, like he's there, but something in his face, like his eyes are just dead. He's like a cartoon character, but they didn't animate his eyes in any way. Alex Winter, on the other hand, feels kind of desperate, like he knows this is the first thing he's done in a while that anybody's actually noticed him for. Now, granted, I know he's popular as a producer or whatever, fine. I'm not trying to drag the guy. There's a sense there that he's a little bit more comfortable in this because it's the biggest thing he's done in a long time. And it just, the dynamic just doesn't feel authentic anymore to me. And I didn't laugh much at all. I feel like I've seen this type of story play out where you've got to unite the world with music or something about that feels familiar. I'm not sure from where, but it just seems like it's been done elsewhere and better. And I just didn't buy into this at all. I wasn't interested in these characters. The daughters are running around basically reenacting the first movie. The Bill and Ted are interacting with themselves in increasingly unfunny ways that don't make any sense in terms of the time travel aspect. Not that really matters. They don't really care about verisimilitude, but I just did not care about this movie at all. Like, I don't hate it. I just kind of just sat there going, why is this even happening? Like, it was there and then it was gone. It was just a vapor of a movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really have an issue with the movie. I don't like everything you're saying about Alex Winter and Keanu. I don't really agree with. I think they knew what they were in for, and I mean, Keanu's character is kind of lost and clueless. So I mean, I thought that kind of works. It's 100% a nostalgia trip, and it relies on that, but it also knows it does. So it, you know, they let the girls reenact the first one. They kind of go, and you're right, it doesn't make any sense. My son's actually sitting there trying to correct the time travel logic of it, and I'm like, shut up. Go watch Interstellar. I don't really give a shit. But I don't know. It was fun enough. I mean, the movie that comes to mind about saving the world with music is Trolls 2, and that sucked ass. So I'll take this over that, at least, instead of doing like pop and punk and rock. And they went to like classical and included rock, but left all the other shit out other than the Kid Cudi bullshit. I don't know what the fuck that was. But it was fun enough.
And I've seen that very joke they've done that very joke in a number of different movies where you have a person, an unlikely person who knows everything about physics for some reason. Like, that's a joke that's been done in a dozen different movies that I just didn't. It was barely funny in those other movies. It's not funny here. And Kid Cudi's a funny guy, so it's hard to actually make him not funny. And They managed to do that.
I didn't know Kid Cudi was in this. I'm like, I'm sad now.
It doesn't really fit.
I'm sad. Like, I love Kid Cudi. I just don't want him to. I don't want him to.
You know what I'm saying though. He's a funny guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but this movie it works. I'm glad it went to streaming because it wouldn't have worked in the theater at all. One, I don't think half the people that saw it would have seen it, even though they had to shell out $20 to $25 for it. But I mean, for what it accomplished what they were trying to do, and so it was fine for me. It seems like the audience seems to like it.
You know what it is? It's just I'm so tired of just having my nostalgia, my memories just composted and served back to me as steak. Like, it's just it feels like it just feels like the worst recycled meal in history. I keep getting it served to me over and over and over again.
So it's not like Jane.
Didn't I just ship this out an hour ago?
I mean,
is it similar to Reboot or like Jane Silent Bob, or is this just like
that one is way more authentic to me, and much funnier
Good, because I love Reboot, so I was getting a little worried.
I mean, to me, well, that also has more of a niche audience. This is more a mainstream attempt. But I don't know. I don't think they're trying to reserve it as steak. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're trying to reserve it as pizza rolls. they seem to know what they're doing. It just, it's pizza rolls, So if you're expecting steak, yeah, it's not good. If you're I thought it was gonna be way worse than it was. The trailer was horrendous, and it definitely outperforms the trailer. But at the same time, I'll kind of forget about it. And if I'm ever going to go back, I'm going to go back to the first one and probably none of the other ones. Obviously, we'll have to watch Bogus Journey here in a couple of years, but I don't know.
I'm not supposed to complain about this. And I know there's a lot of people who are going to be annoyed that I'm complaining about this and I'm harping on it. But what is it about 50-year-old women that scares Hollywood so much, to the point where that they're scared enough that they hire two 40-year-old women to play two 50-year-old women, but they got the two guys who are each 55 years old. Like, just bring back the original actresses. They're both still alive. They're both still out there. You could have got Diane Franklin back and Catherine Cates. They both are available, perfectly fine to bring back for this movie. But no, they're not young and attractive enough. Let's replace them. Come on. It's pathetic. It's pathetic the way that Hollywood runs from women just for turning 50.
It used to be 40. We're making progress.
Working our way up.
Yeah. Yep. The princesses were 9 and 13 when they met Bill and Ted. So Don't be creeped out, though. Don't be creeped out.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't think about it, but I also I don't know who the actresses were originally, too, so that was part of why I didn't even think to even look.
I've got kind of a minor Diane Franklin thing, because she was in Better Off Dead, and I've been in love with her ever since then.
Well, that explains it. No wonder you hate this movie.
That's a blood feud, my friend.
Oh. Yeah, but again, it is what it is, but that's all it is. It's nothing more, nothing less. Not worth $20.
Like I said, I don't have the energy to hate this, because I don't really even feel like it's a movie. It just feels like just this thing that happened, and it doesn't even feel real to me anymore.
Yeah.
Like I've already begun to forget it, and I don't know. It's not going to go on a worst of the year list, because I have no opinion of this movie at all, other than I just don't care anymore. I'm just tired.
It is early. Let's move on to some other, original or more original ideas, I guess. We'll start with Centigrade.
Centigrade. This is from IFC Midnight, and it stars, I forgot her name, Genesis Rodriguez and Vincent Piazza. And there are a couple who are traveling in Norway in the early 2000s. They are on a book. She's on a book tour. He's her husband, and she is 9 months pregnant, which is a scary time to be traveling. Actually, about 8 months, but close to the birth date. And they're traveling in Norway, and they decide to pull off to the side of the road. And if you don't know anything about the weather in Norway, I actually have to be quite familiar with this, just from reading about it and from other movies. The weather in Norway can change at a moment's notice. Like, you can be, it can be 40 degrees outside and no snow on the ground. You can wake up the next day and the temperature dropped overnight to -15 and there's 12 inches of snow. Like, it's crazy. They pull off to the side of the road in the middle of an ice storm because the husband's a little bit nervous about driving. They wake up the next morning and the snow has covered the top of their car, and the ice is formed over that to trap them inside. And the road has been cleared to the point where there's just a giant wall between them and the road now. So they have no idea of that. They're trapped inside, and they're going to be there for the next 24 days. And this is based off of a true story. This has actually happened. This has actually happened multiple times in Norway and been documented. Fantastic, well-told story. Two interesting characters. They keep it short. They keep it to the point. They use use the pregnancy as kind of this ticking clock, and her every little twinge is kind of that thing that is going to change the entire dynamic of the movie. And I found that to be kind of riveting and exciting, and I was really invested throughout. I think this is on the higher end of the survivalist thrillers. There's an element to it that's kind of low grade because there is kind of you're just one spot. It's not as awesome as say something like 127 Hours, which had a bit of a broader sort of a scope and a better director. But this is certainly on that side of it, as opposed to the more popcorn stuff like The Shallows or Open Water.
I'll take Open Water over this easily.
Really?
Oh yeah. To me, I don't know. That's just way more This one, just the only thing that helps it is because it's based on a true story, but they don't do a very good job of establishing how thick that wall is. I mean, you can see car lights through the snow, and the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, just kick your way. I mean, I'm not believing they can't get through it. They're not doing a good enough job for me establishing that they can't get out. I mean, they're picking at it, and they're not. You don't see them trying every effort to get out. You just see them doing certain things, and because of that, I think there was a way to do it and make it better. But I thought Open Water was just terrifying. I thought Gravity was going to be like Open Water. I thought Sandra Bullock was just going to float through space and you're going to wait for her to die. And to me, that's two of the scariest things possible in life, is being trapped in the ocean where you can't see your way out and floating through space where there's just nowhere to go. This one, you at least have the glimmer of hope to get out of the car if you could dig your way through it or whatever. Obviously, you're probably not going to, depending on how the weather's going. But I don't know. This movie there was too much hope for me, and to the point where I was believing they could get out. They did things differently, and I'm sitting there like your normal bad horror movie. And I don't think this is bad by any means. But when you're watching a horror movie, you're like, well, what are you going that way for? I was a lot of that for me watching this, only because they didn't establish how thick the wall was of snow. And in some ways, they almost went the opposite by showing plows drive through and showing lights of cars and being able to hear really well what's going on outside. That took away from the absolute horror of something like 127 Hours or Open Water. I think with 127 Hours, he had to cut his, what was it, his whatever he had to cut off. I can't remember if it was his arm or his leg.
Yeah, his arm.
That was obviously just, and on top of that, you got Danny Boyle making it. But I mean, this was good. Obviously, the drama inside the car when they're not trying to escape works tremendously. It was just, I had a hard time, I was a hard time getting out of my head trying to figure out ways to get out of it. Like with Open Water, there's no figuring it out. It's just you're waiting to die. Now, at the same time, all I really got to do is with Open Water is fast forward to the end and see how it happens. And it's kind of the same with this, but there's enough that happens in between. This is a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I just
right.
I couldn't get out of my head, I guess is what I'm saying.
I was watching with my friend Sarah, and she threw out, and you'll appreciate this. She threw out was going, just hit the stupid roof. You got a sunroof? Hit the roof. Why are they hitting the roof?
I mean, we've all been. I mean, it doesn't get Norway cold, but it's gotten cold the last few years, like -20 and whatever with wind chill, and that ice gets thick. And to me, you show 4 or 5 feet of snow blocking that door. Yeah, you're not getting out, but it kind of look at this only like a foot. And
I think I buy into this a little bit more because I know a little bit more about the science of it. The reason that they're actually able to stay as safe as they do is because of this so-called igloo effect.
Right.
They were essentially inside of an igloo. And inside of an igloo, you could actually keep a little bit warmer than you would if you were outside, which is kind of what the drama between the two
of
them is. They don't know where they are. They don't know how far they are from being near any kind of civilization. So they make the decision that they're trying to make is between keeping the shield that they have from the outside and staying in the car where they know they can stay warm, or going outside, venturing outside, and potentially dying trying to wait for a car to go by or the next car to go by or to try and find civilization.
No, I get that completely. But at one point they do break the window, and then they just and they kind of lose the igloo effect a little bit to the point where he doesn't. Whatever, I'll save the spoiler. That's to me once that I don't know. That was more what I'm with you. When they started to break away from that, they did roll the window down a little bit to try to chip at it. I know, if you try to open that door now, you saw 3 cars go by, I think, in the whole 24 days. So I understand that part of it. It just, I don't know. The way, it's just hard for me to get out of my head, especially when they broke the window from that point on. I started to kind of be like, well, try this and that. And I don't know, when you're doing that, and I don't know, it just affects your viewing of it. But I do recommend it. It is pretty terrifying. It's something like a Cujo or for any of these horror movies, you're gonna. And I will put it ahead of Shallows. There, I thought Open Water was terrifying. So maybe I'm bringing more to that than it deserves to.
So something to watch this winter.
I think
the winds come back. The Farmer's Almanac said that we're gonna get slaughtered. So I can't wait.
We get a winter derecho. That'd be great.
Oh God, that's all I want.
I think I'm a little bit more neutral on this because there is not a scenario of a survivalist movie that I could survive, so I get to be a little more neutral.
Oh yeah, I always do that with horror.
I'm
movies,
dead anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I do that with horror movies, but I'm also I know I'm an idiot. I'll be that guy that gets killed in the first 10 minutes. I'm that guy in Scream that was watching TV. There's no way I could survive.
Well, I was always the guy that, up until meeting Sean, when it was just well, why would you want to survive a zombie apocalypse? Sean really did a good job of explaining that to me. That doesn't sound fun. You might as well just end it.
Nah, that just sounds like the worst case scenario. Can you imagine how bad the zombie apocalypse smells? Do you want to smell that for the rest of your life?
No.
No.
Right.
End it, man.
No.
If I sleep in on a Saturday and forget to shower that morning, I'm feeling gross and disgusted. I can't imagine going, 30 days, let alone 2 years.
You watch The Walking Dead, they're all down in Atlanta. That's got to be the worst.
Zombie swamp ass.
Yeah. Oh.
No, thank you.
I work at a factory where it's 100 plus. Ugh.
I think about that anytime I watch a movie that takes place in the 1800s. Just how off us. Nose blind to it, but when I watch it on screen, as dignified as Abraham Lincoln is, he probably has shit in his ass the entire time that he's talking.
If you're in the time period where you have to throw your turds into a pot and throw it out the window, I don't want anything to do with it.
Oh. This took a turn. And instead of turning it back to Centigrade, they shit in the back of the car, so that had to be awful.
Oh man.
Yeah.
We once had this car that one of us when we were kids puked in, and we had to live with that for 5 years. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, if you are, Centigrade does have some gross. She's eating her placenta at one point. It's a.
Oh yeah, that was something.
Yeah,
it's
a movie. It's. I don't know. To me, the baby would have died sooner. I don't know. I was bringing a lot to it, watching it. But anyway, but still, it's on the higher end of the middle of the road and the lower end of great. I'll give you that part of it.
Yeah. I think we agree on that.
So something I'll have to check out when it's $5 on Vudu.
I think it is right now. I only paid $5 for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Speaking of paying $5 on things, you cannot kill David Arquette.
Yes, terrific documentary about the career of David Arquette, who lived up to the classic adage that you be careful what you wish for. He wanted into the world of professional wrestling. He loved it. He was excited about the idea of being part of it when he made Ready to Rumble in 2000, and it ended up destroying his life and career for quite some time. He does this. He becomes WCW champion as part of a storyline, and people come to hate him in both the worlds where he existed, in the world of professional wrestling that he loved and respected, and in the world of Hollywood where everybody goes, really, wrestling? Yeah, we're not going to hire you anymore. And for over a decade, he got work here and there, but not nearly the kind of work he was getting before that. And it really did, that time period destroyed him in two places that he actually wished to be part of. And it's really sad that way. So, you cut to 18 years later and he's kind of, he's doing well. Obviously, he's got a happy family and a beautiful wife and looks like a pretty lovely life, but he's still kind of consumed by this idea of wanting to have, that acceptance, that love that he always wanted in those worlds. He wants that, and he sets about trying to get it back. And that obsession is what drives the entirety of the story, is this obsession he has to try and return to a place where people like him again. And I was fascinated by him. He is such an interesting and unique character. I was fascinated by the drive and the determination that he showed, and the utterly bizarre and kind of sad dedication that he has to it. At one point in the documentary that I found to be the most poignant, he is wrestling in a backyard with a bunch of teenagers who are like, they're using thumbtacks and lights, and there are no fans there, and there's not even any light in the area. You can barely see it, and there's no one there. And he still goes through all of that. He goes through thumbtacks at a table spot for what? I don't know. It's just this desire to have these separate teenagers take him seriously and like him and respect him, and that just kind of meant the world to him for some reason. It's bizarre and fascinating, but then he goes on and actually gets in the ring and actually performs and actually gets better, and he takes it seriously. And like I said, this documentary is utterly fascinating. It's one of my favorite things of the year so far.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect, because I haven't really followed his career. I mean, I've obviously seen like all the Scream movies and stuff, so I just hadn't really paid too much attention to what was going on. And I was super into wrestling back in the day, but we never really watched WCW. So like all of this was like fresh for me, and holy shit, man. Like that, like I went from like in the beginning, like thinking like there's no way, like at best I can see him like managing for someone, like, and especially like when he had that first conversation with his doctor, where his doctor's just like, dude, like you'll die, like you could die. And he had a heart attack, like what they say, like a year before all of this went down. Like yeah, I can't believe that he would go out there and like even try this. But then by the end of the documentary, I was like waiting for him to say like David Arquette is all elite. Like the whole time I was just sitting there waiting. like I in the last year I've returned to loving wrestling with AEW, and like the whole time like seeing him like go through the indies, and like he's getting trained by like fucking Peter Avalon, and like all this stuff is just going down, and like that whole scene with Luke and Jack Perry, man, like
yeah,
damn, like because that's been another like fascinating thing, is watching like Luke Perry's son like rise into a star, and I didn't know that they were like involved with the David Arquette and all this stuff. So it's like all of this was crazy, and like I did vaguely remember hearing about like his death match that he like just I think he was trying to die. Like I don't know what was going on there. Like I love a crazy match and everything, but like Jesus Christ, like he got stabbed in the neck with a light bulb.
Yeah, that was a cool scene because it was hard to watch, but he immediately pops up, gets out of the ring, and he goes back because he knows he has to finish the match, which is stupid. That's one of the wrong things about wrestling. But he's trying to pay his dues. He could have died. I mean, when he moves his hand and you see it shooting out like a hose. I remember when that match happened and hearing that it went wrong, but I never watched the YouTube videos or anything like that. And I just kind of like you, Zach. I just heard about it. I didn't know much more about it than that it happened, and it was way worse than he thought it would be. But I didn't realize how bad. I mean, it was like had to turn my head away from the screen a couple of times when he was doing some of the shit with that light bulb. Like he was stabbing him with it. It wasn't just breaking it over his head. He was stabbing him. At one point, he pulled it. Was that a knife he pulled out at one point?
It was a pizza cutter.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like
What the hell?
Jesus Christ! Like I mean, I'll admit, like lately, like AEW's been getting crazy. Like they pulled out like a skateboard with thumbtacks like a few weeks back, and it was crazy cool. But like this, literally, like this just took it to a dark spot. Like this was almost suicide. Like that was rough.
And it was interesting the way that they played it out because he'd actually been doing quite well. You know, he was getting better. He was improving, and it's kind of like, why would you get in the ring with Nick Gage? Like everybody kind of knew, if you were in wrestling, you knew Nick Gage. There's a reason why he wasn't in WWE or getting any looks anywhere bigger than, like CZW, because he was fucking crazy. You know, he's like, he's a maniac. And he was doing this kind of stuff. He's like he's deathmatch. That's his thing, is deathmatch. And why David Arquette chose to get in there with him is bizarre. I was a little disappointed, just a little bit, that he didn't go into more about Nick Gage and about their interaction and whether or not Nick Gage actually ever said anything to him after that, because he's notorious for being just a guy who doesn't care if he kills you in the ring.
I get why that would have been more interesting, but it doesn't move the documentary forward. I like that they only did it with Ken Anderson at the end, because it does keep the mystique.
That one was kind of odd, though.
I guess
it was kind of odd, though, building up. Like I guess I understood the build up, because that's kind of how you build up a wrestling match. Is that kind of you have to buy in and pretend. Obviously, it's all pretend, of course, and the outcome is predetermined. And they were playing into that. They're giving him an actual like wrestling build, but at the same time, they're playing it out in a way that, like, we all know that Ken Anderson's not actually going to hurt David Arquette.
Right. But I'm
like the Nick Gage thing was actually the bigger crescendo.
It was I don't know. In terms of the story, I don't know that it was, but it definitely was the craziest part of the story. I guess I like the documentary. I do think blaming wrestling for his career is bullshit. I mean, I think his character in Scream is his problem. He played a goofball and he could never get. He became typecast and he moved on. I mean, the biggest star in the world right now is a wrestler. So I'm not. Yeah. I think that was more to give the documentary a little more drama. I definitely believe he wanted to. I think he really loved wrestling. He wanted to get the approval of wrestling fans. I bought into that. I mean, you have to. There's no way you can watch the movie and not buy into that. But I did the early stuff where he's going to like Courtney Cox and Patricia Arquette and all the famous people that he's related to and friends with, and then blaming wrestling for his career. I thought was kind of lame. But other than that, I thought it was really good documentary. I think anybody could like it, whether you like wrestling or not. It's hard to watch at times. And it's funny at times too. I don't know. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I kind of hope to see him pop up in the future. Like I hope that maybe someone will give him a chance, because he was quite entertaining. I would Hey, there's an AEW pay-per-view next week. David Arquette, you make an appearance. You're gonna get a big old pop out of me.
Yeah, I'm turning into like Jim Cornette, and I hate everything.
Oh God. Oh God.
I don't know. It's
You just see Kenny Omega and you grit your teeth.
yeah, pretty much. I still like the old stuff. I don't like the Randy Orton matches are fun, but other than that, it's just like I don't know. I'm interested in the Fiend.
I've been enjoying FTR a lot because they're so much fun. Like I don't really watch WWE outside of like the big pay-per-views. So I was impressed with those guys.
Yeah, I don't really watch.
I'm looking forward to watching Payback tonight.
Oh yeah, that's today.
Yeah, I thought SummerSlam was good. I enjoyed SummerSlam. All right,
and Dominic. I was impressed.
Breaking fast.
Let's complete change of pace. There's no blood in this movie at all.
Look, I'm out.
This is a romantic comedy about two men falling in love. Michael Cassidy and I forgot the other guy's name. Deciding that a typical romantic comedy is that we're dealing with a story about an out and Muslim man, which is something that kind of when you see, because obviously we all have kind of the perception that we have of Muslim society is that they don't like gay people, and the idea that it catches you off guard, like, wow, I didn't think they could do that. It's horribly racist. At the same time, it deals with that in a very interesting way, of having this character be happy and well-adjusted, and he ends his first relationship with a man he's very much in love with, because that man is decided to marry a woman in order to help his dad. His boyfriend's dad has bad health, and if he found out his son was gay, he would probably, and being a Muslim man, he would probably, he could have a heart attack. Like that, it would be that devastating for him. And so that guy decides to marry a woman in order to please his father. And of course, our main character, Mo, decides to leave him because of that, because that seems like a reasonable thing. Like leaving him for that seems reasonable to me. A year later, he's met a new guy, Cal, played by Michael Cassidy, who's this handsome actor who's very charming and almost too good to be true. And they're going to go through various different obstacles, but one of them is not going to be the fact that he's a Muslim man who's gay. And I love that. I love that little twist on convention. Everything else about this movie is very conventional. It's very typical. It's very much what you would expect in a romantic comedy, and the typical aspects of it, even right down to the character of Mo having a sassy, gay, Muslim best friend who's very out and proud, but also has other aspects about his religious life that are not healthy. Like he practices, but he doesn't, because he understands that there is a great deal of prejudice, especially against someone like him who is so flamboyant. And that is another aspect of this movie that's also very smart and well put together. I like this movie a lot. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of typical elements of it, but it's really romantic and really sweet, and two really wonderful characters at the center.
Awesome. I have no questions for you on that.
Yeah.
I am not going to play our classic music because this isn't a classic. I was just trying to have fun. When I saw this movie when it came out, I thought it was so bad it would be like so bad it was good. And then I watched it again, and it wasn't bad enough to be that. I don't know. It's Knock Knock, Eli Roth, Keanu Reeves. I got the idea between Bill and Ted and this movie Mirror Mirror that came out in 1990. I was like, Mirror Mirror, Knock Knock. The two words next to each other. Perfect idea for a classic. And I watched it right away, and I was like, the girls are actually kind of good in this. Keanu's bad, but he's not as bad as I was hoping. And Eli Roth doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. So I don't know. What do you think, Sean? Is that...
What exactly is he attempting to accomplish with this?
No shit.
Is this some kind of weird fetish that he has? Like the idea that two beautiful young women would just show up one night wanting to fuck him? Is that like some kind of, he's like, typically of Eli Roth. He's got to play out his masturbation fantasies on a grand scale. That's just what he does.
Well, one of them
he can't
was his
masturbate
wife.
outside of a movie theater, I think.
One of the girls.
That's the only
was
one
his
he
wife.
gets off.
Yeah, there was three things that I couldn't. He didn't pick the lane he wanted to go down. One is it his masturbation fantasy. Two is it his fear. That is definitely, I could see a right wing, point of view. Being afraid of that kind of thing, especially in the Me Too era. Obviously, this was before the Me Too movement, clearly.
Yeah,
but then. Or is Keanu Reeves really a bad guy? They don't pick. He doesn't make up his mind with one of those three things. All three happen at once. Between the fear, him being a bad guy, and it being his fantasy, and that's why.
Zach, have you seen this movie?
No. I actually, not too long ago, a friend of mine was going to give me the download code for it, and I'm not really upset I don't really know if I'm upset or not because I never got the code.
All right, so here's we should break down the premise for Zach because he hasn't seen it. So Keanu Reeves is a married, happy architect. He's got a wife and two kids. The wife and two kids are going to the beach for the weekend. He's staying home. These two gorgeous 20-something girls show up at his house in the rain in the middle of the night, and they set about just kind of teasing him for about 25, 30 minutes, taking off their clothes and just kind of wanting to have sex with him, just desperately wanting to have sex with him. And eventually they do, and then they won't leave. And then I turned it off about halfway through. Bob, what happens?
They bury him alive.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he dies at the end?
They keep his head above the. Basically, they record him having sex with the girl from Knives Out, and what they're doing is they're live streaming in that when it happens. He doesn't know that at the time, but then they got him tied up. They're just kind of torturing him, playing music really loud in his ears. Not even music, but just a lot of torture. But that's when Keanu gets really, really bad. And that's what I remember being fun about it, because he is so awful in these scenes. It's like, how did his career not end? It was that bad. But leading up to all that, it was just kind of bad acting. It wasn't like so bad you're going to lose your career. But at some point, they dig a hole, they get him buried, but they keep his head out of the ground. And they just they start posting stuff to social media about what he's done and essentially ruin his life, but don't totally kill him. Then his wife comes home and she sees all of her artwork destroyed, and then Eli Roth decides to make a joke at the end of it. I don't know. It just, they get away. Keanu's life's ruined, and he may or may not have died, and his family comes back and their lives ruined. There's just no, like what you said, there's no point. If it's just simply a masturbation fantasy, then leave the horror out of it. If it's some right wing, I'm afraid women are going to ruin my career, make that your movie. I'm going to hate it, but at least go down that lane. If you want to say he's this 1%er who's really kind of a shitty person, go down that lane, but pick a lane and do it. That's what's wrong with this movie. I don't know.
I started having your thought right there about the right wing thing, and I started having that thought about halfway through, and I just I played out the scenario in my head but what if two women showed up in the middle of the night and tried to fuck you and then tried to say you raped them? What? Yeah, that could happen. No, it fucking couldn't, you fucking asshole.
Right. And I don't know. And it's one of those scenarios where I can't put myself in that situation, even if it could happen. There's no way they're coming in my house. I'm sorry. I'm just not.
I'm glad I'm not rich and attractive, so I don't have these problems.
But it turns out that's another thing. It turns out they were stalking him beforehand, and they are doing this to a lot of different. They're doing this to a lot of different guys. They're kind of serial rapists, if you will. And the point that they're trying to do is prove these guys are actually bad guys and not good guys. That he does try to make that point at the end, but at that point, to me, it's too little, too late. He's already kind of established this fear fantasy thing that it just didn't work for me, and I wanted it to be worse. To me, if it was worse and like fun worse, one, the timing just, it doesn't work with what's going on. Mean to me, it's more cringy than anything today than it was when it came out. But it wasn't as bad as I wanted it to be, and now it makes me feel like I gotta go watch The Canyons again and make sure that's really as bad as I thought it was. But it was just, it wasn't as fun as I was wanting it to be on the podcast. I just thought this would be a blast to make fun of Keanu and all the goofiness about it. Instead, it was just kind of, it was too well made. I hate to say that, but too well made for it to be fun. So it was just more of a, ends up just being forgettable because Eli Roth doesn't really know what he was doing. He can't just be all out horror or all out scary. He has to do the comedy and the sex, and he needs to just pick one and go. I don't know. So I apologize.
It's just classically bland, hateful Eli Roth. I mean, he's afraid of women. He's just absolutely terrified of them and doesn't know how to deal with them. And but he wants to masturbate to them. That's the big conflict for him. He's terrified of them, but he wants to jerk it so hard to them at the same time.
They are far and away the best things about this movie. Like, they're actually pretty decent actors. But especially towards the end, his wife's one of the characters, or ex-wife now, the chick from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the one that Leonardo marries. She's actually pretty creepy at the end and does a good job. The one from Knives Out, she does her role pretty good. But again, they're almost too good to make it work, and it needs to be fun bad, and it's just not. So I apologize. It wasn't what I was hoping for.
Can we get a moratorium on any woman calling a man daddy in bed? Can that just go away, please? That is the creepiest, grossest thing I can ever imagine, and I never need to hear that again in my life.
and again, it's one of those things where, does he think it's sexy or does he think it's creepy? You can't really tell what he's going for. And
right.
It's the problem.
Are you enjoying the fetish? Are you poking fun at the fetish? There's no
right.
The woman, Anna de Armas, walks in wearing his daughter's school uniform and gets on him and starts to call him daddy, and it's just it's awful. Yes,
but it could have been so much creepier.
It's so poorly done that you don't know if Eli thinks it's awful or not. Right.
There's enough humor and sexiness to it that it just makes it awkward instead of like cringy and scary, if that makes sense. It's like kind of the same thing happened with that stupid that cannibal movie he wanted to make, where he couldn't help but make jokes about them pooping inside of a cage. It takes you completely out of this what should be a scary thing, and they're making jokes, and it's like, God damn it, man, pick a lane, and if you want to go all out, go all out. Texas Chainsaw Massacre goes all out. Don't
Cannibal Holocaust goes all out.
Yeah, Hostel didn't need to be Porky's for the first half of the movie. Anyway, we spent way too much time on this, and I apologize again. This was not nearly as fun as I wanted it to be. And at least my shame might be somewhat entertaining on the podcast, I hope.
The theme of the night is Keanu Reeves still makes bad movies sometimes.
and yet somehow none of them are as bad as Destination Wedding. I'm going to stand by that.
I'm going to take your word for it. I've never seen that.
In fairness, you didn't watch the last half an hour. I will say, Zach, though, if you're going to watch it, it's on Tubi, so having the commercials in there kind of makes it even... It does make it a little worse.
A little bit. Oh, God.
When they interrupted saying like a rock.
Right.
And show you a Dodge Ram commercial.
Oh, I'm in, man. This is America. That's what I want.
I keep getting prescription medicine for like that app. That's every commercial. It's that one. All right. In 1990, we didn't watch anything, but American Ninja 4, Mirror Mirror, and the Lemon Sisters came out. So
yeah,
Sean did watch a movie that I asked if we could bump, and I think it should make sense that we bump it.
Yeah.
So next week we definitely have Mulan coming to Disney Plus. Our classic will be Mulan and Witches Turns 30 on Netflix. You saw the Charlie Kaufman movie. I'm thinking of Ending Things.
I'm thinking of Ending Things. Jesse Plemons and Jesse Buckley. Really terrific cast. I think
those guys.
Toni Collette as well is in this, and directed by Charlie Kaufman, and already getting tremendous reviews. And we'll also return to the world of professional wrestling because there's a documentary on professional wrestler Vampiro next week.
Nail in the Coffin, and then also Measure for Measure. We're going to talk about
Yes, Hugo Weaving making a Shakespearean movie. I'm not sure which Shakespeare play it is, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
All right, we will not be watching Tenet. Sorry, folks. I'd
rather not die.
Yeah.
Unless okay. One caveat: if it's playing at a drive-in, I might, because I think I could safely go to a drive-in and stay in my car and enjoy the movie.
I will say though,
I
saw Inception in a drive-in, and I can't pretend like I've seen it. It's so hard to. I don't know. You just lose stuff at the drive-in.
Really?
Well, when I don't know. I couldn't tell you anything about Inception because you were watching it at like midnight. It's a complicated movie. It's supposed to be super visual. You only got little speakers as your sound, so you lose a lot, especially on a Nolan movie. Especially the only thing he does is good is visuals. I don't know. If it is a drive-in,
if Tenet's at a drive-in, I might go see it.
I might as well then. I'm running low on batteries, so let's run through Flickchart real quick. Fargo, okay. Inspector Gadget.
Fargo.
It's a tough one. Dances with Wolves, Airplane.
Airplane.
Yep. Watchmen, Meet the Parents.
Watchmen, man.
Meet the Parents.
I do like Watchmen, but I'm going Meet the Parents because I enjoy that more than I should. Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T.
Ooh. Raiders.
I'm going E.T. What'd you say, Zach?
E.T.
Superbad, Watchmen.
Superbad.
Yeah.
Oof. You guys, that's like my heart right there. Those are two movies that are real near and dear to me.
2001, A Space Odyssey, The Wedding Singer.
2001.
I'm going to go The Wedding Singer.
Oh my God. The podcast is over, Zach.
Hey. In my defense, I know I haven't seen all of 2001. I know I haven't. God. I know I need to see it. I know.
This is the saddest thing ever. This is the saddest thing since you brought us Hot Rod.
Oh, fuck. All right.
I liked Hot Rod.
Yeah. Hot Rod's the shit. Gremlins 2 is like one of the best movies ever made. And Sean can eat shit.